Welcome to our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting for June 11th. Please note the minutes that all members are here and accounted for. So for minutes, did everybody get a copy of our minutes from the May 14th meeting? Everybody get a chance to look at them?
Absolutely.
All right, I will take a motion to approve.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Do we have any additions or corrections or need to discuss anything? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from May 14th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are good. All right. So I'm going to throw it over to Lorena. We've got some unfinished business to go over. So more about the Memorial Park expansion project.
I wish I had better news, but after multiple emails to Aero Engineering requesting an update, their response on June 6th was that they are working on getting clarity on their timeline and confirming the sidewalk resolution. And as soon as they have both, they will be in touch. And I was quoting on that. Have not heard from them since. They had previously stated on a couple of occasions that they would provide weekly updates. Haven't seen those. So today we contacted the VP and said, this is unacceptable. So he said he was going to have a meeting with his staff in the next 20 minutes and it would be addressed. So hopefully we'll get some actual movement there. Okay. We did have a meeting with Morton Buildings this afternoon, and we are going back and asking them to cut whatever they can. They don't need a 120-gallon water heater. 75 will be just fine. They don't need a top-of-the-line grease trap or grease basin or anything like that. You know, they're going to go back and just value engineer everything from top to bottom. Okay. To see if we can cut the expense down, because as I had indicated previously, it rose by $100,000 because of the delays that we have been experiencing with Aero. And that was conveyed to the VP. Okay. So time is definitely money in this, especially in this case. And that grant funding that we've been awarded, it's making less and less of an impact on our expenditures on that. So not pleased with that situation. So that's where we are with that. Stand still and waiting.
Okay. So I guess once we know more from Aero, then we can kind of guide Morton Builders to like give us a
they're ready.
timeline of-
They're ready to go. The
But
last
I mean,
meeting
as far as cutting costs.
Yes,
and
yes, absolutely. But yeah, they're ready to go.
They've been
The
ready.
last meeting we had, not today's, but the previous one,
They were ready.
they asked, has the site been graded yet? Is it prepped? An RFP hasn't even been released yet, so sorry. Yeah. Do you want me to continue on then?
Have any questions?
Oh, yes.
Lorena, where did we last land with the sidewalk? Was it still up in the air as to whether we were just going to remove it completely or get that kind of like allowance?
State Highway had approved the removal of it, but the engineer thought that maybe they could find a way to make it work by taking a fresh look at it, and a new person did come on staff, so that person was going to take that fresh look at it. It would have to be under the, it would have to be at the 1% or under stormwater flow, you know, but.
Is that one of the things causing the delay?
Yes, that is the thing causing the delay, to have that sidewalk in. Now, sidewalks and connectivity are part of our comprehensive plan. So yes, it would have been really nice to have that sidewalk in from St. Joe's down to this access road. But if we cannot jeopardize the project by the delays that we've had here. We have been working on this project with this engineer for 3 years. 3 years. That project should have been finished by now.
can you ask them to dump the sidewalk and move forward if that's what's holding it up?
We
Like,
did, and State Highway approved that, but the person, the new staff member at Arrow, the new engineer, thought he could maybe find some way to keep it in there and meet SHA's requirements.
How long ago was that?
Was it a month? I think it was. I think we discussed it at the last meeting, if I recall.
Yep, it was last,
So-
yep. It was last meeting, we had that,
Right.
that conversation about
Yes.
removing it, but then,
And just kind of moving.
yeah, it's just, when
Right,
they couldn't find a solution, and now it's like, okay, let's just move on without. Now,
Right.
we might be able to find a solution, and now delays, so.
exactly,
I mean,
yeah.
At this point, can you say if you don't have a solution by the end of the month, then you need to move forward? Like, we're the client, right?
Right,
We should
exactly. We should be able to do that.
Dictate that, yeah.
Exactly. So that's where we're at. And the thought was when we removed it, well, we can just put it in another time because technically it's not part of the park property. That was a concession we made to State Highway when we first approached them about that access road off of Frederick Street or 184. And they said, well, yep, we'll let you do that if you put in a sidewalk from St. Joseph's down to this road. And we said, okay, if that's the deal, then we'll put it in. We'll spend an extra $10,000, $16,000, $20,000 putting that sidewalk in for it to get that road. That access road is very important. So, I mean, especially for emergency equipment, emergency response
yeah.
on those fields.
I mean,
We've
that does
got
change
to have
everything.
access immediately there, not trailing in and trying to get behind and get in there. No. So that's where we're at with that. I'm sorry, I don't have better news, but yes, by the end of the month, well, I'm hoping we'll have some kind of resolution in the next couple of weeks, yeah. Which,
I would
well,
hope so.
it will be by the end of
I
the month.
would
Boy,
hope so.
time is flying,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
hope so.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll proceed with that.
Can you remind me when things have to happen before grant funding becomes a problem, like the clawback provision I think you told me about?
Right. We have a 4-year, once we were approved for the grant and the Department of the Interior gave us the approved start date of October 1st, 23, with 4 years. So the other thing that I'm considering as well is if we can finish it, obviously, before that 4-year, then we may be eligible to go back to them and say, look, we've had these costs increase through no change of scope in the project, and request additional funding. That's what we did with Bollinger.
That'd be funding to reimburse for the additional costs, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So that is a possibility. But if we finish up, the earlier we finish up, the more amenable to that they will be. That's that. Any other questions?
Pondering.
No,
Okay.
it's just the constant setbacks, like.
I know.
mean, Not that it's anybody's fault in this room, but I mean, this is a project
Exactly.
that we finally got it
Right.
rolling,
Yeah.
and now it's just like one hoop
More
after
hurdles.
another, after another.
Right,
3
more
years
hurdles.
later, after, like, it's been focused on,
Ah, yes.
come on, can we just
Yeah.
get a park in there?
I know. Well, it's almost like, I'm wondering if I have a hex on me because we went through the same thing with Bollinger Park. Oh, the engineers were dragging their feet and, grant money, I had to go and get extensions on those through DNR for the Community Parks and Playgrounds grant because the former Parks Director had gotten the grant funding for the project in 2018 or 19. So I thought, well, let's go with a new engineer. And the VP at that time was very proactive, had great ideas and everything like that. He really sold us on it, so,
Correct.
and then he moved on, and here we are with the engineering staff. And the other thing as well that factors in is the engineer on Bollinger was starting to spread thin. They had lots of clients and not enough staff to work on assigned projects. And I believe that is what is happening at Arrow now, because we're using them for other things, because, you know,
Right.
they were good. Well, they are good. Let's, fingers crossed that they'll be able to come through for us on this.
What else are we using them for, out of curiosity? You said we're using them for other things.
The PFAS thing, Public Works is using
Okay.
them for a couple of things.
Yep.
Lead and copper info. I'm
Yeah.
not as well versed on those issues, but yeah, for that. Because I recommended, I was like, oh, you should go with these guys. These guys are great. And they were at the time.
Okay.
They are.
Slowly falling off the cliff,
Right.
however.
Yes.
Hopefully not. Yeah,
Well.
all right. Then, if there's no additional, obviously, we can bring it back up later. General park improvements.
At Roberts Mill Park, we're putting in a paved pathway to the dog park from the pond trail, so that'll be nice for those who don't want to slosh through, you know, the fresh cut grass or anything like that, you know. And then the interior of that corral, the main entrance corral, before you go into the two separate size areas, is also paved. That part is finished already. So we'll get that up, and the additional riprap that we had discussed last month. With all this rain, it's so hard to get, you know, because the contractors, they need at least a couple of days, you know, so it's kind of been here and there trying to get that done. All parks were inspected at the end of last month, and the to-do list was provided to Public Works, and they've already completed most of the items, and they're working on the rest of them in between the inclement weather and their other work that they have to do for their own department. That's all I have on general park improvements right now.
Questions?
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I do want to add one more thing on that.
Sure.
If anyone has noticed, the fountain is on the fritz again. I'm just a bevy of beautiful neuse tonight,
I was
I'm
just
telling you,
thinking
I'm
about the fountain. I
Yes.
was like, maybe the turtles got a hold of it.
sorry. In revenge, right here, really. You took my sister, I'm gonna take this fountain now. You know, whatever, I don't know. So instead of having Lake Source come out yet again and charging us, you know, $500, $700, whatever, we are going with another company, and they are very knowledgeable, and we're going to try a couple of different controls on the control box itself to see what we can do as far as keeping it running, keeping it going. We're going to have to turn it off at night. It's been running 24/7 when it was on. So by turning it off for a few hours during the evening, or, you know, after park closes at 10 p.m., it allows all of that gunk and stuff, leaves, whatever, plastic grocery bags from Food Lion, you know, to fall off, because it's not constantly sucking it up into, and through the motor and everything. So the next step, if these controls don't work, is to put a secondary cage around it to not risk burning up that motor with debris.
Is that what the problem has been, the
Yes.
motor burnout?
Yes. Yeah. So keep your fingers crossed for that. Hopefully that'll work out for us so we can have that
Let's hope
out
so.
there, because it is such a beautiful feature, and it's a very useful feature out there
I
to
think
keep
it's
that water
really helped
circulation.
the water,
Yes.
yeah, with the circulation.
I haven't been out there, I haven't had a chance to get out there recently, but if we can't get this up and running, then we're gonna see the algae bloom.
I already
It's
saw
gonna-
a little bit
Did you?
a few weeks ago. I
Yeah.
think 2 weeks. I saw a lot by the dog park.
Yeah, that was the main impetus for us to get that fountain, was for the water circulation. So, we'll see about that. That's all I have for that.
Okay. Update on 2025 events.
Yes. So we are in the thick of our event season, and Yoga in the Park kicked off last Monday evening at Memorial Park and was well attended. The next class is scheduled for Monday, the 16th. Tennis clinic registration is open for both the youth clinic and the adult clinic. If anyone's interested in registering for those, please contact me. We'll get you signed up. The movies in the park do kick off on Saturday, the 28th, at Memorial with a showing of the live-action Cinderella. So we're hoping that that'll be well attended. And again, this year we're going to do, the first 25 attendees get a free snow cone from Purple Polar Bear. The summer scavenger hunt's going to begin on June 20th, and that's going to run through August 31st. I've got the 20 rocks painted. I've got the 20 prize bags ready to go to the library. So people who find those rocks will take them into the library and pick up their prize bag and hopefully get something out of the library as well, signed up for the summer reading program or see what activities they've got going on for the summer. So we're continuing that partnership with the library. I think that's very beneficial for the community. The next big upcoming event for us is the Independence Day celebration on July 3rd. So that's going to kick off at 6. We're going to have food trucks, plenty of food trucks this year. Last year, I think we ended up having 3, and the lines were just insane. So plenty of food trucks to accommodate the crowd, and we'll have games, a bounce house, a DJ. Fireworks are going to go off around 9:30 p.m. The rain date for that is July 5th, Saturday the 5th. And again, anyone listening, if you're wondering why we don't do it on the actual 4th, that would be wonderful if we had the funding, but those fireworks are twice the price on the 4th. We get the discount because we go with the off days. So it's $6,500 compared to $12,000 or more. And those fireworks costs are going to go up because of potential tariffs, because most fireworks are made in China. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out for us next year, but the next 2 special event permitted events are going to be Wolfstock on the 21st, run by the Humane Society. I believe that's their biggest fundraiser event for them for the year. And then a Taneytown Pride event on the 22nd, and that is being coordinated by Dorian Campbell Temple. So if anyone's interested in more information on those events, just reach out to the event organizers. I know they've been posting on Facebook. We, of course, do give the event organizers the courtesy of posting their flyer a couple of times to try to help get the word out, spread it out. We generally do not allow comments on those posts. They're informational posts only, and we direct people, if they have any questions or want to be involved with the event, to contact the event organizers. Because, we're not involved in that other than just, the special event permit application review process. Yeah, exactly. So, that's all I have on the events coming up. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Is there anything you need for the event on the 3rd, or is that pretty
No.
self-contained?
That's pretty much self-contained. There's a huge crowd, but the police handle that, and they'll handle, traffic flow out, of course, when it's all over and the mass exodus begins. So no, everything is pretty much set up. I go down there at about 3:30, and the food trucks roll in, they get set up, and then we put up the barricades where people shouldn't park, and the DJ comes, he gets set up with his equipment, and that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much set. So thank you, though. I appreciate it.
And then we'll talk about it next month, but we do have Family Food Truck Friday,
Yes.
July 18th.
Yes, Friday, July 18th is the Family Fun Food Truck Friday. Lots of food trucks, pony rides, petting zoo, inflatables, games. So that is always popular as well.
Have music this year?
Yes, we have a band. I'm sorry, yes.
We have music.
We have that.
Yep.
Yes, 6 Days, DAZE. 6 Days is the band name, so. Yeah.
All right, any questions for Lorena regarding events? Okay. Update on our fiscal year 2026 budget.
Great. I believe this is the latest version. There are copies over there on the table. This was printed June 6th, so that is going to be, it's slated for a public hearing and adoption, I believe, yes, on next Wednesday, the 18th. So then we'll be all set. We'll be official. That's all I have on that.
Okay. Any questions regarding that? And then any miscellaneous updates?
Just want to let you all know I'll be representing Parks and Rec at the library summer reading kickoff. That is next Thursday, I believe, from 10 to 12. I'll have our event listing as well as our event flyers out on our table, and our giveaway is going to be the blue drawstring sports bags.
Yeah.
Because they like just putting all the flyers in that bag and off they go. So there we go. Get the word out. Help get the word out. And I'll also be at the MML Summer Conference from June 22nd to the 25th, back in the office on the 26th. I am attending not just for the classes that are applicable and helpful for me, but also because I am the secretary of the MML Parks and Rec Association, and we are having a meeting on the 24th down there, so a roundtable meeting. So hopefully we'll get more people drawn into there and actually join that association, because it is beneficial for those entities who have Parks and Rec departments, or even if they don't have a Parks and Rec department, just have somebody who works on Parks and Rec, that kind of thing. So that's all I have for a miscellaneous update.
Okay. I just wanted to thank Lorena too, because if you go out to Bollinger, she has the updated event schedule and puts them in the little pamphlet dropping. So anybody who comes to the park can kind of get a copy and know what's going on as far as events. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I wish I could put a brochure rack at Memorial, or even a signboard, a smaller signboard as is outside City Hall here. But I hate to say it, you know where I'm going with this. Vandalism. Yeah. It's unfortunate that our most used and most popular park is subject to,
Yes.
but
But people,
the police do patrols through after they close at nighttime, but, they can't be there all the time. And it's where those teenagers know when they're not there. Exactly. It does. They do it quick. They're in, they're out. They spray paint the pavilions, or they break something, break up the story stroll stations, or, put things on the playgrounds that shouldn't be there, and all that kind of good stuff.
but that pamphlet box at Bollinger is really,
Yes,
really nice.
that's and it's well used.
And
I
it's
am
well used,
refilling that a lot.
And, yeah, and it's not being destroyed, so.
Right, exactly.
But-
Yes, we have, just to let you know, we've got this in the brochure rack at Bollinger Park. We also have trail activities for kids that Kelly clued me in on. So it's like a Blue Ridge something association, but they do it applies to any parks. Like just little.
And
little
different
sheet.
seasons too.
Yeah, different seasons. So like go along and, jump like a squirrel, that kind of stuff, or
Yeah.
whatever. It's fun, interactive for the kids. And then also, I've been putting in an informational sheet on forest bathing. Are you familiar with that?
No.
No, it originated in Japan, a Japanese habit of going out, and it's not bathing like, you strip down or anything like that. You basically just find your center, your Zen center, by listening and absorbing and kind of like being part of, the forest in a way.
So it's like meditation in a forest,
It is,
basically. Okay.
exactly.
You're bathing in
yes.
the universe kind of thing.
Indeed,
Okay,
yes,
I got you.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was imagining somebody
Right.
going in the creek over there. I was like, I don't
Oh,
know
no.
if that's a good thing.
They're allowed to go in the creek, but as long as they have a bathing suit on or whatever. Anyway, yeah.
Anything is possible.
Well, you never know.
That's
you
right.
know? Right.
Anything is
Yeah.
possible.
People can be wild.
Indeed. So, so that pamphlet is just like information and instructions on
Got it.
how to do that,
Yep.
to do the forest bathing. So, great. That's all I have.
Lorena. All right. New business. Let's talk about our post-event discussions. It's really nice to say that.
Yes, indeed.
It is. So
Yeah.
let's talk about.
We're a few down now. What are we? We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down. And a few more to go. Just a
Just
few.
a few.
Just a few, yeah. Yeah.
Who's counting?
So yeah, Memorial Day ceremony and parade. I think they went very well. The weather was gorgeous. Couldn't have asked for a better day for that. It was just wonderful. As we know, Darrell Hale was posthumously honored at the ceremony with a citation from State Delegate Eric Boucher. Darrell's wife and family were there to receive that. The other speakers, in addition to the delegate, were the mayor, State's Attorney Haven Shoemaker, County Commissioner Joe Vigliotti, and interim pastor of Trinity Lutheran, Stacy Marsh. And the American Legion Auxiliary handed out paper poppies prior to and after the ceremony, and Legion Commander Kate Irwin performed taps on her bugle. So it was a very nice ceremony. It was well done. The parade was well attended, judging by the number of people on the side of the street, so that was good. We had a decent number of participants this year. We had 34 people and entities in total, including the Wreaths Across America truck, Battlefield Transport's Mobile Vietnam Veterans Wall, and many veterans as well. My favorite one was the vet on his motorcycle with the little teacup Yorkie on the back seat with the little goggles on. Oh my gosh, that was so cute. That was adorable. So all in all, very moving and memorable day for the occasion. I think we did those who served and died honorably. Do you have thoughts on that?
I mean, it was a blast being able to be a part of something like that. I've never been able to do anything like that. I've always been a participant, so, or not a participant, a spectator. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Being on the other side of that was pretty cool. Yeah. It was really cool. I do wish I would have challenged the sergeant push-up.
Oh,
that you were
yes.
trying to get me to do. I was like, all right, next year I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go home and do like 1 million push-ups so I can compete with this guy.
He was great. He was a last-minute add-on, and boy, I'm glad he joined us. He had a driver for his military Jeep, and he was jumping out, doing push-ups, getting the kids involved to do push-ups, and adults. I saw some adults out there like, yeah, I'll do that. Oh, I'm done, or whatever. It was funny. And then he would hand out American flags to them. So that was very fun. I'm definitely going to invite him back next year. I thought that was a really fun thing there for them. That's all I have on that. Any questions or comments about that one? Okay.
Done.
All right. Well, you know
Always.
what we're going to be jumping into now.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
The Wine, Art, and Music Festival. First of all, I want to thank all of you for all of your help, your hard work in getting that event launched in the morning and running it throughout the day and then cleaning up and breaking down at the end. Every little bit of help was greatly appreciated. I appreciate you coming in. I know it was a graduation day and busy and all that kind of good stuff. Graduation. It was a big graduation party weekend, and that always affects our attendance, as well as the weather, of course. And I remember one year we tried to do it the Father's Day weekend, but that's when Westminster does their beer and barbecue stroll.
Yeah.
So that was just way too much competition for us. That was a very small profit year, if you want to call it a profit. Was that when we might have been in the negative on that one as well? Oh well.
Well,
So-
like I wrote in my email in response, I probably have had more fun doing it than anybody else who volunteered.
Right. Well, yeah, you've got the easy job, just sit there at the table and hand out the glasses and perusing around.
I
and
get to say hello to every person who comes
Right.
through the gate.
Yes, that is fun. I like that, the
And
interaction with people.
I enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah.
You get to
Yep.
give them their cups of happiness.
Right, indeed.
Cups of happiness
Right.
and tell them to enjoy.
Yes,
That's right.
indeed. So I've given you our preliminary profit loss statement, which shows us in the black by preliminary figure, a little bit over $2,000. So all of the expenditures and the revenue that came in between the ticket sales, the miscellaneous sales, the glasses. The lanyards were popular this year, so that was a great idea, guys. Appreciate that. And then the raffle tickets, I think we did much better on the raffle tickets than we did last year. So that's good. That
I think the
helped.
location of the table,
Exactly, right next. I think it's very helpful to have that raffle table right next
Go
to the
from right,
glass
yep.
distribution table. Exactly, especially for the VIPs who get their swag bag with that free raffle ticket in there.
yeah.
They can just step a few steps over and fill out that ticket, and then they're on their way. Yeah, so. Once the June financials have been processed through our finance department, then we'll have the final reconciliation and the final statement. But that's what I've got at this point. So you can see on the bottom of that, our, according to the ticket reconciliation, the comp tickets we give out for the sponsors, we had a total attendee count of 250. It's weird that it worked out that way, but all the numbers were even this year. It's kind of funny. So not great. We'd love to have, 500 or more,
Sure.
for not only for our purposes, but also for the vendors, both beverage and craft and also the food vendors, of course. So we have gotten feedback from the vendors that I emailed out to you all. I don't know if you all had a chance to review that or not, but one of the ideas that we were trying to consider was trying to get those food trucks on the field without tearing up the field, because it's so much more convenient. The food vendors do better because they're right there. And the other vendors do better as well because people are staying in
Yes.
the festival
Not going
area.
back and forth, yeah.
So that's something that we need to consider. I suppose we could always do for next year like a backup plan of, okay, food vendors, looks like, if the ground is dry enough, if that field is dry enough, then you'll be able to pull in and set up there. And if the day of comes and it's too mushy, then you're gonna have to park on the asphalt. I mean, that's the only way that we can really do it. We just can't control the weather or the amount of rain that we get.
Yeah, they would have had to have parked on the
Yeah.
asphalt anyway this
Yes,
year.
this year,
So,
yeah, they definitely would have had to have been out on that asphalt.
but
I was
it's a
worried
good
about some
idea
of the
that-
vendor vehicles, the craft vendor vehicles going out there,
Yeah.
artisan vendors, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, just thinking about that. Can't put it in my head, if there's enough space, put the vendors in front of the snack shack. The
Food vendors?
Food vendors in
no, there's
front
not,
of the snack
no,
shack.
there's not enough space there.
That fence,
That's where that, so the
But it-
field
Yeah,
is
where the hill
raised,
comes
and then it
down.
dips
Dips.
down, and that's where all the drainage
Yeah.
goes.
okay.
Yeah, so that would not be a
not
good
safe.
solution.
Okay.
No, I'd rather have them up on the field than down there where the drainage runs off, because they definitely would get stuck down there.
Okay, just a thought.
Yeah, nope, it was a good one, but, mhm.
Hey, Lorena,
Yes.
another thought too that I know it's been brought up before, but is there any consideration about potentially utilizing a different part of the park? I know we'd have to do some type of enclosed area for
Right.
the alcohol and things like that, but I just feel like Memorial's a really lovely park.
It
But
is.
when we do it on the football field, we're not really accentuating it as much as we could.
No.
Again, the alcohol would be tricky.
Yes,
Temp fences or something like that, but
right,
just a way to kind of maybe get it a little bit more kind of park included rather than just out in the sun in the football field. Because I know once the sun came out and it was like
It was
humid,
hot.
it
was
was
hot.
tough.
it
And,
was,
You know, some of those
yeah.
trees in the park are lovely, offer
They
you that
are,
natural
all the
shade.
shade, the pavilions, yeah,
pavilions,
all that kind of
yeah,
stuff, yes.
so-
That would be great, but we would have to put, I guess, orange construction fencing
Yeah.
all around, because we won't qualify for that alcohol license
Right.
without a complete enclosure and monitored in and out.
Sure.
That's the other problem, is that, at least with the football field, other gates are locked once the
We're
vendors get in.
enclosed, yeah.
Right.
And then you've got one entrance and exit that can be monitored. So having it in the total park, then with the construction fencing, we'd have to have people like, okay, here's the only entrance in and out. You
Yeah.
have to go over here. I don't know.
Well, so for that, we could consider almost like, and it would kind of take away from like the ability to kind of sip and stroll and things like that, but like a wine garden, if you will, where like there's a spot where we have the alcohol vendors predominantly, you know, and some tables and things set up in that space, and then kind of outside in the surrounding, you know, walkable path area, or like the little kind of drive when you come in, you know, some of the other vendors are set up and things like that. Just,
We could do that, depending on the number of beverage vendors we have.
yeah.
The only problem, I know that in the past, we received feedback about how well it worked to have the beverage vendors interspersed with the
Right.
craft and artisan vendors, because then they were getting
Yeah, they
more
were getting more
business.
traffic.
Exactly.
I think
As
that was a
opposed to
comment
having,
on here too.
It's-
yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a
As
tricky situation
is.
for, yeah.
Right,
I mean, I
because-
get where you're coming from. It was hot.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
really hot.
And it would be nice, I love the Harvest Festival because it's in the main area of the park.
Right.
And we have the vendors over here, and then we've got all the other fun stuff over here, the band playing in this gazebo, which the gazebo was constructed for.
Right.
Those types of, you know, functions. So, and the one year at the Harvest Festival, we did have Flood Zone Brewery come, and because it was only one, we were able to just set them up on the tennis court, and that, of course, is gated and, you know, closed off with a gate.
So yeah,
Yeah, that did work.
And we didn't need an alcohol license for that, because it was an independent, they were selling their pours, they were selling their cans, they were selling their merchandise. We weren't, you know, charging anyone for admission to
Oh,
the
sure.
event or anything like that. Yeah, so when it's that type of situation, an alcohol license isn't required, so, but,
Yeah,
yeah.
if we tried to make it bigger too, I think we would need a ton more volunteers to kind of,
Yes,
Yeah.
at all sides.
And that's big, yeah, for sure.
And we're limited with that.
yeah, yeah, yep.
Does Fun Events have any like tents that are like, had like the tent for like the VIP or whatever, but do they have any like super like huge tents that you could put up that would maybe cover like half the space in there so that you would have a bigger portion of it undercover?
I'm not sure what their largest tent size is. I don't know. That's something I could go back and check with them on. What are you envisioning? Just cover, just shade, do you mean?
Yeah, like
For,
a bigger area for, because that way, like, you don't, like what he's saying is, like, people wouldn't be in and out, like we keep it all enclosed in the football field, it would just be providing more shade.
Well, we had 2 tents there plus the VIP tent, and all tents had tables and chairs. So people had the opportunity to go in and seek shelter from the sun. The heat, there's not much we can do about. We certainly can't afford, you know, misters or anything like that. That would be really nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, so we did offer those, and we've done that in the past as well. At one point, the VIP tent, they had the flaps down on the sides, the walls, if you will, and it was getting so hot and stuffy in there that
Had to roll 'em up.
the walls were raised to get the breeze, the circulation going in there.
I wonder if we could put like a fan or something in those tents at some point, or I know electricity would be a little difficult.
Yeah, we'd have to run a pretty long extension
Yeah,
cord.
right. Or we could get rid of the second, like just have 2 tents and then, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I don't either. I don't know.
I mean, if people are hot, they should get like a cold beverage maybe. So
That is
Like,
true.
it's not a bad thing.
That is the
Like
idea.
a
Right.
beer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so.
Yeah, yep.
We
Did
talked
you-
about the water mister too. Yeah, that'd be great,
Yeah,
But,
there we go.
yeah. but that's not gonna happen either.
No.
Yeah,
Maybe you should start selling them.
I think I
There,
should.
yeah.
You know,
Here's a vendor spot next year.
at Disney, they sell,
Yeah.
they
Yep.
do.
They're
And-
great, too.
And they're expensive. Here's a tip, if you're going
Hey.
to Disney, go to Walmart, buy
You
yourself
can
those
turn
things
me into one of
right
those
there.
people, have like the thing around,
Right?
walk around checking, and everybody be like, "Do you want to buy one of these for $5?" Like
Yeah.
Oh, there
that
we
could be a
go.
good fundraiser idea. Like
Oh my, yeah, really?
if 'cause
Add
if
that
they're
into your
cheap-
miscellaneous
Somebody write
sales.
that
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. I would do that.
Yeah. Good idea. All right, did anybody have any other comments, suggestions, or anything for the
Yeah,
discussion?
I went through the list of replies that you got to your email, and I just made a couple of notes.
Okay,
I kind of agree that as the one vendor, actually several vendors made note of, that the vendor spots in the center have to all face.
they do, the same way, and I think there was some
There
confusion
were a
there,
couple
you
of,
know,
there
telling
were a
people,
couple of odd and end ones
right,
that were facing cattywampus,
right,
and
yeah, exactly.
you had to walk through between and whatever.
Indeed,
And people were
indeed. No,
not doing that.
I think if we go with pulling the food trucks onto the field, then we'll have to tighten up that vendor space area anyway, so that we make sure the food trucks are up on the higher, well draining area. So we have to ensure that all vendors are facing out the same way. And with them being a little bit tighter and more condensed,
Back to back.
right, exactly, right.
So that
Well,
you
with a
just
little
have-
bit of space, you
Yeah,
know,
a
for
little
them
bit.
to move around,
Exactly,
obviously,
but
get
you
their
need,
products out.
basically what you're
Right.
looking for
Yeah.
is an oval walking area.
Something like that, yes. Because unfortunately, I suppose, people don't like to walk that much. And when it's spread out like that on our field, people go in and you could almost see the look on their face like, you know, I have to walk all the way over there for my wine, you know, kind of thing. So I think we tighten up that area a little
Yeah.
bit.
And unfortunately, it was exacerbated by the fact that you had so many empty spaces
Yes.
from vendors who didn't show.
Who didn't show or canceled the morning of at 5 a.m. or the evening before. I was getting calls left and right, you know, oh, it's going to be too rainy. I'm not going to do it. Or, you know,
Yeah.
one of them had COVID, so they said, and I appreciate them not coming to our festival and super spreading that.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's always going to be some attrition. Even if the
Absolutely,
weather
but-
is beautiful and perfect, you know, but, so we're
But
gonna have
that
empty spaces.
That kind of got exacerbated, the
Yes.
whole space problem got
Yes,
exacerbated. by that.
exactly, yes.
And although I didn't partake, I have to agree with the one vendor who said that each of the food vendors should have a different menu.
And the thing is
If you
that,
have a couple of barbecues and no hot dog hamburger or,
Right.
you know, Greek souvlaki or Chinese whatever,
I do send out to the food vendors, all of them together, it lists them all down. This is who you are, this is who else is going to be there, you know, so that they have that opportunity to compare menus. So the problem with saying to one, you fix this, and another, you fix that, is how do you determine who offers what? Well, first come, first serve?
well, they
Okay, that's
offer-
their specialty, you know, vendor A specialty
Okay,
is
it's
barbecue.
barbecue.
And then vendor D comes in, they do barbecue. Well, you know, we'd love to
I'm
have you,
sorry,
but
we already have a
right,
barbecue.
exactly.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that may
That's being
not want to
exclusionary.
work with
Right,
us in
exactly.
the future.
Exactly.
That's right, that's
Going
right, yeah,
to-
yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, you don't want my business.
Right, exactly. Not gonna help you out at
That
your
might
harvest
help,
festival
right,
or
and
whatever.
that might
Yeah.
help with-
There's also so many food trucks in Carroll County that they all already probably know each other and have been in
Oh, they
events
do,
that
Yes.
for sure.
They
Yeah.
do.
If you're a business, you're gonna wanna, like, if you have your competition, you're gonna wanna make something that stands out. So, like,
Exactly, right.
I feel like that's not on us.
Right, indeed. And that's why I send out that email, you know, after the food
Lorena
vendor
actually
registration
does that
deadline.
with the craft vendors too.
Yes.
Because we had a duplicate vendor and you let them know.
Indeed,
that,
indeed, yes.
You
Look,
know,
I've already
hey,
got a
just letting
permanent.
you know, you signed up,
Right.
but there's another one that's selling kind of the.
Exactly. And I tell them that when they inquire, I'm interested in being a vendor, I'll say, well, you know, I already have this particular vendor. Do you still want to come in on it? If you do, I will place you far apart, so you're
Yeah.
not right next
Yeah,
to each other,
exactly.
obviously. And a few of them are like, yep, include me. I'll take it. I'll take my chances, so.
Did we, I mean, I'm assuming we didn't have any other food vendors that were interested outside of these then? Is that,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did notice that like in years past, we did have a little bit more variety, but I understand that we just kind of are going to work with whoever is interested in
Right.
working with us. So it's interesting that we weren't able to get some of those, differing things. So I did notice that as well, but
Right.
not that I think that would detract from necessarily the attendance of the event, but just
Right.
maybe their perspective of.
I have a
options.
huge food vendor listing, and at the beginning of the year, or, end of the year, whenever I'm planning for the next year's events, and we've got the dates set, I blast it out to them. Here are all of our events that we need food vendors at. Let me know which ones you might be interested in and available for, and I'll sign you. I will get you in on this, so. It's when they jump on board.
I had a quick thought too, going back to the whole like vendors facing the same way. Maybe next year when we send the like map of that, we could just have a small arrow
Text box,
showing
yep.
them which
Facing
direction
out,
we're going.
yes.
Like be like, this is
Yeah,
how you
because they
face.
did have questions about.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we check them into, we can be like, this is where
This
you
is the-
are.
Right.
You're
You
need to be
facing
facing.
outside, which we did
Yeah.
tell most
Right.
people, and then
Yeah,
they still,
sometimes they
still
just
did
don't.
their- Yeah.
They just get in there and they do their own thing, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, so
Do
what,
not hear us?
And I think the action item on that too is also, we probably need to have somebody walking around for the first like hour while they're setting up to, just to be like, hey, you're
Make sure,
you're
hey,
facing the
whoops, you're
wrong way.
facing the
No,
wrong way.
let's-
Yes.
let's turn that around. Like, we probably could have done that, but
Yeah,
I don't think anybody thought about it until it was too late.
right, yeah.
Also, maybe a different setup design, as opposed to having the long
Rectangles?
two-section rectangle. Have 5, 6 vendors back to back in several rows where you can make a quick trip around this one, a quick trip around this one.
Right. That's possible. I've looked at various layout options. And it's kind of tricky because we've got to keep that corridor between the band and the VIP tent, because that's part of the allure for the VIPs, is to be able to sit in that tent in the shade with their coolers of, sodas and ice water and see the band right there, And just for noise, projecting from the band.
Yeah.
So that we've got to keep the vendors far enough away so that they can actually discuss with their customers without having to like, what did you say? Kind of thing.
Just, again, just
Yeah.
a thought.
Nope, it's a good thought, I know. And maybe we'll play around with that for next year's layout, depending on how many vendors we've got. This year, prior to the attrition, we had 57 vendors, and that doesn't include the food vendors. That was just
Just the craft people on the
beverage and
inside.
artisan vendors, yeah, which is a pretty decent amount for that field. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. That was the highest number of vendors that we've had so far since we've been working on it.
Cool.
What did we think of the band?
people loved them. Like
Mhm.
I
They
would,
were great.
yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
I walked around, I was asking, and like all of the different beverage vendors, I was like, what do you need? And like 3 of them were like, this band is awesome. And I was like, okay, I guess that's good to hear from a vendor. So
Yes.
just come back next year for that. But people were dancing the entire time. I feel like people in the VIP tent, they were vibing too, which was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it was a very good band, but we had them play last year, we've had them
Yeah,
play this
I know.
year. I think
We might
it's
have to look at it,
probably,
yep.
we probably need
Time
to,
to,
yeah. I'd love to have them back, but the other thing that we're going to need to consider for next year is, and you'll see this on the P&L statement, there were several supplies that we didn't need this year because we already had enough stock, such as the glasses. That's gonna be, an expenditure that we'll have to take a hit on next year. You know what, the tickets themselves from Design Associates, we ordered 100, and the only ones that we actually used were the ones that I mailed to
For
our
the
sponsors as a benefit from their sponsorship package. So I think I'm just gonna cut that down. We don't sell them here at City Hall. People just don't. The people who come in here are paying their water bills, or they're seeing someone here, they're not here exclusively coming in, hey, I need to buy some Wine Fest tickets. So we had 0 sales here at City Hall.
Sell them at the liquor store
We
again?
did not this year.
Cannot
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Did you do that last year?
We did, but someone mistook our cash box for the cash register, perhaps. So, yeah, we were a little short on what we got back, so we just decided, you know what, it wasn't worth it, because we sold minimal tickets there, I think.
That was
we
gonna be my
like
next question, how many even
Yeah,
sold there?
that wasn't worth it, no.
It's easier just
Yeah.
to go on.
Online, I mean, we had
take a
a,
leap
we
and
had
do
a,
it.
yeah, we had a good number of online purchases, so that was the majority of the sales.
I was about to say, that looks like it was the majority.
Yeah, and the marketing, I think, helped. Casey did a wonderful job. Thank you so much for making that connection, and she just did a fabulous job, and I really think that helped. There was a lot of
That was a great-
interaction
yeah.
on Facebook when we were posting those vendor spotlights, and the marketing plan that you came up with, Mackenzie, was spot on, so
I mean,
I think
next
that
year,
helped.
we started a little bit earlier too.
Yes,
And then space out the posts so it's not
Right,
overwhelming.
it's not wham, bam, bam,
Yeah.
yeah, look at all these
And
vendors
we
we
have the template now, so
Right.
we don't have to keep pulling on her.
Right,
So
yeah,
that was an
Yeah.
extra bonus, so that was
Yes.
good to get people pumped up.
and again, very appreciative to her for doing that complimentary. We were going to offer her a vendor space at the festival in exchange for the marketing that she was providing to us, but she had a schedule conflict and she wasn't able to join us. But, so it was very generous of her to donate her time and
absolutely.
talents towards that marketing. We still have plenty of lanyards to give away in the VIP bags, so we're good on those. Are we still good with those for next year, you think?
They were a hit.
Popular, yeah.
They were a hit.
Yeah, all right, good. We'll stick with those.
Just as a note, I was surprised and pleasantly, I guess pleasantly so, that the VIPs, we gave them the choice of which glass they would like to use. Over 50% took the smaller glass.
The stemless.
Stemless?
Yeah,
stemless glass.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
handy, and the stem,
well,
the
it-
stem doesn't, the stem might get in the way of something
Doesn't,
clinking
yeah.
around,
Well,
whatever, and you're
not
worried about
also,
breaking
Like,
it.
yeah,
Not only that, if they've been a regular attendee, they've probably got a set of 8 or
Right.
12
Right, you're
of
right.
the tall ones.
Yeah, right, the stemmed ones, yeah.
So
So,
they, take the other ones and build up that.
well, yeah, and you can drink anything out of those little 5-ounce. I mean, you can have shots, you can have your bourbon, you can do,
Right.
whatever. It's a
Well,
sipping glass, it's a drinking
utility
glass.
glass.
Exactly,
Sue
exactly.
said for her, it was a perfect orange juice glass for in the morning.
Oh,
So
well, there we go, all right.
Well, there
You
you
can
have
use them
it.
for anything.
You've got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts, suggestions, comments?
Oh, overall, I think it was a rousing success.
I think we made the best with what we had. The weather was kind of touch and go there for a while, but I think all things considered, I think it was a successful event, yes.
I agree. Yeah,
Another-
the morning
another
was
year
not
down,
great
yep,
in the
so-
rain, but yeah.
I was surveying people when I was doing like the initial check-in, and I was like, have you guys been here before? And like the vast majority, it was their first time at our event.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Which I
Maybe
thought
they'll
was
spread the word.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
There were only a few that I had asked that had been, so it's good, and hopefully
Yeah.
they'll come back next year.
Yes.
Maybe they'll
hope so.
volunteer.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? All right. All right, so reports. Do we have anything from council for the board? Or,
I mean, I think you guys probably already know about the resolution that was passed, so I don't know if you want to ask any questions about that. Outside of that, I don't. The draft budget that we're doing on Monday, I just got the final copy of it today, so I looked at it a little bit. It's a little bit different than what it was on Friday when they gave it to us, but I don't think anything's materially out of line. Yeah, if you have any
All right,
questions.
so there is another budget draft.
Something
that- I
different
got-
than what was printed on the 6th that's over there?
I don't know what's over there.
This was-
I
it
know
was
I given
printed-
the
printed on
packet
the
today
6th.
Because what we were given on Friday was not correct, so that's all I know.
Okay. All right, well,
Do we know if the draft budget's online?
I don't, I just saw it, I
Okay.
got it like today.
There was
so
one
I don't-
uploaded like at 4 PM today.
It was,
Okay.
it was
Okay.
probably
there?
that one.
Okay.
The correct one.
Yeah, because I was going over it, like, I know last week, and, you know, there were like some minor errors, so I think they were doing some cleanup on it, and I know some of the numbers changed from just doing a quick eyeball of it, like 20 minutes before I got here, because I was at work too, so, yeah, that should be up now too.
Questions?
Well, I emailed the mayor expressing my desire to remain on this board, explaining why. Because I come to presume that my position on the board is at least up for discussion. I believe if I'm correct on that.
or do you?
So I mean, I think, I don't, so I wouldn't say any particular person's seat is up for discussion. I mean, and if you want to reapply, like you just would reapply in, under the normal procedure, right? Like all we really did is reestablish like when people's terms begin and end, and from there you would just fill out, you know, the page or two and reapply. So like you wouldn't be getting kicked off. That's not how that works. Also, there's a holdover provision within it. So even if nobody else, even if you didn't want to re-up, which you just said that you do, whenever the document becomes available, you would just fill it out and submit it and be under consideration.
What document would that be?
It's an
The only
application.
document, the only application
it's an
I ever
online
filled
form.
out.
It's
The only
usually an online
application
form.
I've ever seen was the first time I was put on the board.
Mhm.
There was an advertisement for an opening on this board. Now, I believe probably was in the Taneytown Record at the time,
Mhm.
for which I submitted a resume,
Mhm.
was appointed. I have never seen another application since.
Sure.
I've served under 3 at least mayors.
So,
And
all right, sorry,
and
am I understanding you right, that you're saying that you haven't had to re-up your
I've never
term?
had to reapply.
Hmm.
I only was verbally inquired as to my interest. And on every occasion, I have indicated my willingness and eagerness to remain, which I included in my email to the mayor, which I also included my reasoning for wanting to be on this board for as long as I can, because we have one piece of property to develop, and I want to be in on the planning to do that.
So, again, my guidance to you would be, there's going to be a way to sign up, right, to submit your paperwork. It's probably going to be online. I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's just a link online, you fill it out, you submit it, and you go into the
I
The
don't
pool
do
of
things, I
candidates.
don't do things online.
So,
Sorry, I'm an
Do
old-
we, do
sorry,
we
I'm
have
an old
paper
guy.
copies of the
I was about to say,
application? We do
I
have,
can't imagine there wouldn't be a paper copy, and like, I mean, I would
You
help
can-
you fill it out.
You could email me
Right,
a
and,
copy
and,
and
like,
I can
I could help
respond to
fill it
that.
out too, if that's the problem, right? Like, I don't have a problem with doing that.
If it helps, on all of the boards that are currently open, you can go in and print off all of the applications. So I'm assuming that once it's open, it'll just be posted there again.
Absolutely. Yeah, just for clarity, please. Thank you.
So when you go to it'll say help wanted, the verbiage is going to change to service opportunities. That's going to be the new verbiage here in a little bit. But when you go there, you click that, it's going to take you to some job listings. But if you look on the right-hand side, there's kind of a drop-down menu there. And there'll be an app, it'll say boards and commissions application, if I'm
Okay.
recalling correctly. It's nothing too complicated. It asks like what kind of relevant, if you have a degree that's relevant or any kind of service you've done that's relevant. Its name, phone number, address, how many years you've lived in Taneytown. It was made before I came on board. Nothing's been changed on in the last couple of years. It's just mainly so we have it on record as we're going to re-up these appointments that we did still post down and everything like that, because that is the fair process for it. I do have to say Parks and Rec is the #1 requested board by people who do put in applications. And it's not to say I'm trying to change anybody's memberships or anything like that. One of the commitments I made to Lorraine, the same thing, is that nobody is up to just be changed. I work with my department heads as far as who gets put on the boards. We go through recommendations and stuff like that, and I'm not circumventing that. So any kind of changes here would go through Lorraine no matter what, in my book at least. I can't speak for other mayors in the future. One thing I will make a recommendation to this board is maybe consider, and this might be something I suggest to council as well, maybe consider suggesting that you guys add a 6th member to your board. Since you have a non-voting liaison, he doesn't have to sit up there with you guys, but that might at least allow somebody else to come on board as well. Because again, this is a heavily sought-after board. And again, it's a Parks and Rec is, not to say the funner of the boards, but it is the funner of the boards.
It is
So
the
just a suggestion. You guys have a nice board. People do want to be a part of it, and they do want to get involved in Parks and Rec. So again, we're not trying to remove anybody. The resolution was mainly just clarifying the terms and everything like that. So you guys are all, my suggestion and my hope is that you guys will all put in re-up applications essentially, and those are the first for consideration. And again, there's nothing complicated about it. It's name, address, years you've lived here, relevant service. We just ask that we go through that process so it is kind of a fair process for everybody.
So it's the application only, you don't need to put a resume to anything about what you...
No.
Okay.
We don't need a resume. Just put the application in. Again, it does have just relevant, like if you have a degree, put that in. If you've worked on Parks and Rec before, put that in. But again, I'll be working with department heads as far as how that works as far as filling those appointments goes. But no, we're not axing boards or anything like that. Everybody's remaining the same. We're just fixing the terms and staggeration. So hopefully that did clarify it. I am resolved to, again, keeping the boards how they are.
Okay. And as far as, you said you received applications thus far for people that want to.
I
So
have-
do you just
so-
hold on to them until there is a vacancy and then share that with the department head or?
Pretty much. So we get applications in all the time for departments. I think I just got one in. When you go to the application, you can check multiple boxes. So
Okay.
you can apply for multiple boards at once. And that's normally what happens is somebody will have Parks and Rec, they'll even put, this is my first choice. But you guys have been full for a while. So again, we kind of kick them to the next board. So again, I think somebody just came in the other day where they had 2 different ones they want to do, and Parks and Rec was one of them. So again, if you guys would consider, and I'm going to ask council the same thing, considering a 6th member. You guys are in code, so it's not too hard to get that changed, but it might at least open the door for, again, a new body to come on and contribute to the team.
Okay.
We have a chair.
That's what I was going to
Yes,
say.
we do.
Again, you guys got a chair.
Yeah,
so.
it's empty.
The
Also,
whole
just
point of
if,
this is to try and make it more accessible
Yeah, and
to
Right, and-
everybody.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around, so when, I know it was Bill, myself, and Emmanuel, so when does our term, according to this ordinance, actually end?
Your term ends on July 31st. However, there's a 120-day holdover where the city will make all reasonable attempts to either reappoint or fill the seat within 120 days. So my hope would you put in your application with that 120 days and you're re-upped essentially. And that would be on recommendation from the department head that oversees your committee. So again, I'm not out here, again, I get the applications, I look them over, and I'll be talking with the department heads as far as what that looks like, but I'll be looking for recommendations from, if that committee is served by a department head, I'll be looking for recommendations based from that department head.
Okay.
Because they know more about what they're trying to foster in their committees than I do.
So our term ends July 31st.
Yes. But again, if you get re-up, your next
But
term
if,
will be
if
3 years.
nobody, well, obviously people have, so.
And again, we're
That's
not,
gonna
we're
go
not trying to up-end boards right now. So there's not gonna be any kind of clean slating or anything like that. If that was the goal, that would have been the resolution. This is mainly the main point of that resolution was staggerization. There's really no other intent behind it. But again, and I'm really considering is that 6th person on this board, because that might at least free up a little bit.
It might, and it might help with staggerization. That's why I was like, with your intent to stagger, though, it's the majority of our board. So
again,
that was another concern that I had.
It's, for all the boards, I think all the boards are 5. So again, it's 3, 2. And
Okay.
yeah, for the most part, when I went back and looked at the previous appointments, just about everybody was coming up in 2026.
Yeah,
I think
most of,
all- yeah, I
most
think
of
all
us
you
were.
guys,
Yeah, most of us.
So I think Hobbs and McKenzie, you guys are 27 now. Everybody else is the 31st. So I think you guys might have had extensions, because I think you guys were 26th as well. Bill, your term has actually been up for a while.
No, actually, I'm sorry to interject.
my-
It was not, no, he's current. His ends at the end, well, previously how it was structured was that he was good until the end of 25, I believe.
Yes, my
Because,
term
right.
So
I
how-
don't think the
Traditionally up
clerk
in
had the correct
December.
information on that.
Maybe not.
My
'cause
term on
again,
this board was was traditionally up in December.
And that's part of why we've done this resolution as well, because the previous list that I had has people that expired in 2019. And
Oh, wow, that's
so
a
again,
long
this
list.
is-
Right, I
That's,
saw
those
that.
records haven't been updated then.
So we're trying to revamp this a bit. And again, I think I said it during that meeting, how I interpret terms regardless is your term starts and ends on a January. That is the previous interpretation I have for terms. So even if your term said 2025, I believe you ended January 2025. And that's just because I'm not going to go around keeping track of months for 30 different committee members. I mean, my staff doesn't have the time for that either. And then again, that's part of why we did this resolution, so we don't have to keep track of 30 different months that people expire, if that makes sense. Because again, I'm not going to go around looking for when people were appointed, if they're appointed in March, June, July, there's 30
You're
different.
just looking at the, okay.
Yeah.
I have a
So
quick
the-
question.
Yep.
I'm looking, I have the application if anybody wants to see it or whatever on here pulled from the website. On the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, on the city's page, it says that all of us are in 2026. So do we all need to submit them then, or, because it's only, the
No,
only person
so
that's
that-
2025 is
I
So
think
Joe.
that's a-
that information is
that's
no
not
longer
right.
Okay.
relevant. The
I wanted to make
resolution-
sure.
The
That's not
resolution
right.
clarifies it.
And then my second question, if they are up in July 31st of this year, can they go ahead and submit the application now, or do you
They
have to
should.
wait
They
until?
can.
They should,
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, so, because like, technically, say somebody was not going to continue, right? Like, technically speaking, your term would end on July 31st, so if, like, he'd be filling it for the August 1st start for somebody new, so like one of the other reasons why we did this is because like we should be putting out at least 6 months before all this stuff the terms are set to expire is, hey, we have, these seats coming up where people can publicly inspect it, right? Because like this way also you can go on ideally online or wherever and see, oh, these seats are coming up, I'm interested in this board, let me put my name in that hat and, we'll see what happens. So like it gives everybody the clarity and I guess transparency to know like when something is going to happen. But yeah, like you should definitely be applying well in advance just to make sure that your name is in that hat. Otherwise, like to me, if I'm in his shoes, to me that would look like you weren't necessarily interested in redoing it, right? Like it's just like a job, like if you want to get hired for a job, you have to put in an application by the deadlines for the job. If you don't, then you're not under consideration for the job, right? Like it's the same concept.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep cadence that we're making those appointments in August. So yes, I would hope that you put in the application.
Yeah, the only question that I have is, according to code, we vote for the chair in July, at our July meeting. So that could be.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Code might need to be changed or,
because it's staggered
And-
for whatever
and
reason.
secretary in
Secretaries in
Jan-
January,
Yeah.
chairs in July, yes.
if you look
So
at
maybe
the
those
code.
should
Yes.
both be January, start off the new year with the
So,
election.
I mean, you guys are our only committee that I know currently that has the secretary, and again,
Yes.
everybody has the chair. But normally, nobody, I think you guys are the only ones who specify
We're the
a
only ones
month.
that specify the
for
month,
the-
correct.
For special.
I don't know how that was,
I mean,
or why that was struck.
I
sounds
don't
like
know
an
why
easy
that
change, though.
happened,
Just
but
do
it
it the
did.
same way that we do it on
But
council.
we want to
where
make sure we
with
go
a new-
by code as well, so.
Yeah.
It's an easy fix. Anything in code's a pretty easy fix. It's just taking it to council and fixing it. And again, that's what we're doing. We're doing a lot of cleanup here. We're doing a lot of housekeeping essentially. So again, my only thing is don't take this as we're trying to kick anybody off of boards. That's not the intent. If you want to continue serving, put in the application. I do have your email, but I would again prefer the official application because that is what we have everybody fill out when they're trying to get on a board. But yes, we are, again, there's a 120-day holdover period. However, I want to try to make appointments in August of each year. That way that cadence is kind of kept up with. And again, if you're familiar with the resolution that went through, the terms are tied to seats now. It isn't tied to you as an individual, it's tied to the seat that you're filling. And the reason for that is, let's say something comes up and you just can't fill this board anymore. Again, I don't want to have to, nobody wants to have to go and re-stagger all of this. So that whenever someone gets appointed, if it's halfway through that term,
They just finished that
they're
term.
just filling that
Right,
term.
yeah.
And that's how we do some of the other appointments like on
Council.
council.
Yeah, they did that with
Yeah.
council,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, this is how most boards work, like.
So again, it's just a little bit of cleanup. Don't take it as anybody's trying to get anybody off a board. And I know I spoke with Lorena about this. Seriously, you guys are fine. If you want to re-up, just put in the application. That's all we're asking.
Okay.
So again, thank you. Any further questions? Sorry to, yep.
So ours moved from 26 to 27, so we're here longer now.
Yes.
Okay.
So some
Is that okay, Jerry?
I don't know.
You're really
we'll
like,
have to vote
"Oh,
on that
man."
later, but-
He's like,
some people did get
There's
little
like, put me in
extensions.
the other seat.
And that'll be July of that year as well.
Yep, same thing. It's always July. Appointments 120 days from that July is when town's trying to do it. So again, there's no guessing of when your stuff is up. It's always going to be July 31st. And appointments in August, hopefully.
okay.
You guys good? Yep.
Since you're in front of me.
Oh.
I was removed from the elections board.
Yep. The new resolution also has you can only serve on one board. So in all fairness to all of our boards, there's three very hotly contested boards. That is the election board, that is Parks and Rec, and that is planning and zoning. Believe it or not, people really like planning and zoning. This is a pretty fun board too. But those are the three boards where you get to do a lot of stuff. Election board, not all the time, but you get a once a
Oh,
year where you
once
get
a year.
a day to really engage people.
Once a year, 1 month.
Yep. But some people do like doing that. I mean, we had a lot of people who wanted to be on the election board as well. So again, our thing is what you're allowed on one board. And that's just in fairness of we have a lot more people, believe it or not, we have a lot more people who do want to become civically involved. A lot of them are looking for certain avenues to do that. Again, Parks and Rec, planning and zoning, election. So again, that there is a one board limit. So that is the only reason why you were taken off election is because we're doing basically a one board limit. And even then, that was kind of a personal choice before we did the resolution, was to keep people on one board. The only people who are exempt from that is the ex officios, and that is because they're council members and whatnot.
Just a little side thought, since you've said that there's a lot of people that want to get involved, it might be a good idea just to keep those names for potential volunteers.
Indeed.
And I think that would be awesome if we could have like some mailing list, if people would be interested in doing something like that, just so we can get people to volunteer on our events, so it's less work for you.
So I went to the Help Wanted, actually, me and Jim were talking about this today. When you go to the Help Wanted on the website, on the subheading drop-down, there's a thing that says volunteerism. When you click it right now, it actually comes up with nothing. So yeah, we were actually talking about this today, is to put on there, we're going to kind of revamp where the boards and commissions is on the website, but the idea is to have that there and then also have an excerpt for basically if you want to volunteer, contact this person. And again, for Parks and Rec, it's going to be Lorena. You basically do all the events, but when we have Main Street, it's going to be contact this person if you want to volunteer for Main Street events, stuff like that. We do want to try to guide people to where they need to go for volunteerism, because there is people who do want to take part, they just don't know how to really get started. And sometimes it is scary when you're first getting involved in volunteerism, especially city. So we want to make sure that's comfortable as well. So we are trying to revamp how this all goes so people can take part in it. And again, the resolution is not to discourage people from committees. It's just to make it make more sense. Because the same thing, I don't want to have to be guessing what month this person is going so I can make this appointment. Everybody knows where they stand. It's July 31st. So yeah, hopefully.
Okay. So you're going to work with Lorena?
Yep.
To possibly talk about a possible 6-member?
I know
And
it's a little
then-
spur of the moment, but again, I was sitting back and I was like, well, that might be the solution for
I mean,
people wanting to take part
it's,
in the.
yeah. And that would also extend, for their term too, so that would
The
be good.
charter committees are a little harder to do that on because we'd have to do charter changes, but code, again, it's a simple.
Yeah, okay.
It's a
And then
simple
we might
ordinance.
have to change that for,
I think if we're gonna change that to add a 6th seat, can we please change the election
we can take-
times
we can
of the,
take
for the
care-
chair and the secretary?
I
Yeah.
can't tell you it's gonna happen, but we can look to take
Yeah.
care of that and adjust that as well.
To make it
but we're gonna
something,
need to stay
something
with
more
code,
logical.
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
soon,
yeah, yeah.
next month, so, yeah.
Again, I'll talk with council about it as well, and probably July. It's not gonna make it on that June 18th special meeting.
No.
But we'll talk about it
Didn't
July,
expect
and
it.
we'll try to sort out the election part as well. We'll make it that
Okay.
August then, so does that sound, we'll try to make it that August. Does that sound like a good recommendation change for you guys for doing the chair? That'll be right after,
Change
I
it
mean-
to the first meeting with,
of August, yeah.
With the only issue that we have just for this year is normally we would take a break in July,
Correct.
right? But
Right.
we're
I'm-
taking a break, we're taking the month off in August for,
All right.
yeah, just for vacations and whatever, so.
But
So we
we'll
can-
change it to August, and then again, you guys,
And then we can
you guys can still
do
work
it from
around
there.
it.
Okay,
yeah.
just as
Okay.
long as that works.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
I just hope you see my vision that I presented to you for our undeveloped piece of property. And you will try to help get that underway.
I have to be honest with you, Festival Park is a interesting concept to me. I can't tell you I'm fully committed to something like that, just because of my understanding of the property and what it would take to get the needed necessities out there.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be a long-term, as long as Bollinger Park took us to get developed.
Well, maybe even longer,
But
Bill, we
I
need
was gonna say
funding. We
longer.
need funding
Yeah,
for it.
fun-
And
Well,
it's gonna
funding's
be-
gonna be, yeah.
Expensive, because there are a
Well-
lot of infrastructure.
I hope
Oh,
to, I
a
hope
ton of
to,
infrastructure.
I hope to not be here 12 to 20 years, or at least as mayor, not 12 to 20 years from now. So maybe that'll be probably up to the next mayor, because again, funding is going to be a challenge over the next
Funding
couple
it,
of years.
yes, I understand that. But there are things that can be done preliminarily that don't cost a whole lot.
You know,
That will
the
help
biggest
with the
thing,
but will help with the planning when we're able to do.
the only comment I have for it is the more immediate thing in my mind is additional playing fields. And
yeah.
Again, I know you guys are all aware of that. I know Lorraine is aware of that, and that's conversations we've had. So again, I'm not, I have to be honest with you, the festival's not on the forefront of my mind. We have a lot of other things going on. But again, I'll take your email into consideration as far as all that goes. Again, as far as the term goes, just make sure you put in the application.
So for those members, just
Okay.
apply online.
Somebody
And if
email me a
any
copy
additional,
of
and then
it.
you're going to be just sharing that with Lorena
sharing that
and
with Lorena,
going
and
from
we'll
there.
Email me a
discuss it.
copy,
Okay,
the application.
Yeah, and they do it. They have printed
I'll
copies.
email it to you, Bill.
They have printed copies in the
Yeah.
front office as well
No.
if you ever come
Okay.
in during a
no,
regular
Lorena
business day.
said she'll email it, so
Yeah.
we're good.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Sorry for interrupting your meeting.
No, you're good. I-
knew that
no,
might be
we
a topic
appreciate-
of conversation, so I wanted to come up here and talk with you guys.
Yeah,
about it.
I was confused by it, so
Thank you very
thank you
much. I
for
appreciate
clarifying.
that.
Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate it, y'all.
Thank you.
All
All
right,
right.
so now I'm going to go to board member comments. Mr. Harvey.
No comments? No. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. House.
Said my piece.
Okay, all right, so our next meeting date is scheduled for July 16th. That will start with our Taneytown Athletic Association meeting first at 6:30, and then it will roll into ours. So if we don't have anything further, I will take a motion to adjourn. We're gonna stay here. I'll motion to adjourn. Got a second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you so much. Have a great night, and don't forget about our fireworks, July 3rd.
Absolutely.